Okay, we have quite a good number of people. Some. Okay. So the unit number one, which is a piece of the puzzle, it's planning the project for completion. Okay. We might want to just do the official work we need to do, or we might also plan, okay, while I'm doing a job, I want to attempt, let's say, UPSC or MPSC, or I want to start a business. Using this approach, you can actually juggle these different complex ball without dropping any of them. Okay. So what how does project planning look like? So this is how project planning looks. We have to plan just once. It's quite important to understand. We are going to be planning stuff just once. Okay. So any big project, we divide it into, subcomponents, and then we start working on it one by one. Important thing to remember is there is something called as a planning fallacy. Okay, it's in another word, it's called as Murphy's law. So the Murphy's law is whatever can go wrong goes wrong. Okay, so it's things go wrong at the worst possible time. So whenever we are planning, we always underestimate the amount of effort, amount of time which is required for a work, or we underestimate how complex a certain project is. Okay. And that's why we always in general underestimate, or we fall behind on the work we commit to. I still do that. I was actually very bad before. I'm just bad now. In a, let's say, 6 8 months, I'm hoping to become not bad, and in a year or something, I'll become good enough. Okay. So once we become good at planning, we actually save a lot of our energy. Okay. So for example, when we can estimate our efforts and time required for a project, what we can do is we can actually say no. There is saying no is something which is very important. People say in job, learn to say no to the work. But when to say no is a more important question, right? When do we say no? Okay. When we say no is when the work in progress is actually more than our capacity. Okay. Let me tell you something. Everyone here who has joined this productivity course, it means you want to be more productive. Okay. It means you are a bit driven. You want to do the work. And let me tell you the universal law of jobs. Whoever is doing the work will get assigned more work than their capacity. In your team, there might be someone who is quite lazy, who doesn't do that much of a work. They don't get assigned that much work. Whereas people who work a lot, they get a lot of work. Okay. And in that case, what happens is like those people kind of like say, you know what, I'll stay a bit late. I'll do more. I'll attempt more. I'll give in more effort. So saying no is difficult. So we attempt more work than our capacity. And what happens is like it's the same thing as it happens on when you're downloading files. Okay. When you're downloading, let's say 10 files at the same time, what happens is the download speed of each file slows down. So capacity here on internet terms is bandwidth. When the files you're downloading are more than the bandwidth, the average turnaround time of each file will get very slow. Okay. So this is what we want to avoid. When the work in progress, which we are assigned or we are taking on, is more than our capacity, the entire work becomes slow. We get more stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, and that's the root of a lot of problems. How many here are facing this issue? What do you think? Is this relatable?
Yeah, quite, especially for personal projects, I would say.
Yes. So
I
personal
think in a
work
different way.
is right.
So what
Go
I
ahead.
think is that obviously you don't give a lot of great work to a lazy guy. You
Right.
give a lot of work to the guy who you think will be able to complete and who will be able to
Correct.
finish the job, right? So I
Correct.
think it's a perspective. How do you see it? I mean, if you get a lot of work, it means you are delivering it and people are liking it and they think you are able to deliver it. And when they
Yeah.
stop giving you work, it's time to look at your current behavior, or something is not working with you or with your boss, whoever is assigning work to you. Or but something has to change, something has
Correct.
to relook and figure out what is happening here. It means you're not on the right track somewhere.
Correct.
That's my thought process.
That's definitely true. But I was thinking in terms of those who are doing work. It happens is like this becomes, they get assigned more work. It's like a story of a lot of my friends who forget to bring attention to the work they do, but they do a lot of work, but they don't get the recognition in proportion to the amount of work they do, and they are quite overwhelmed because they are taking on more work than their capacity, and that's why I had taken this concept. So going back to the conclusion, this is the conclusion here. Okay, take on fewer or simpler projects. Everyone definitely knows, okay, if I do my branding better, I can grow a lot in my career. So before it was publishing a book. Now with packed publication, it's quite easy to publish a book now, but still publishing a book, publishing a course, having let's say 10, 15 plus blogs, it's actually quite a significant achievement. But because the attempted project is complex, someone might start with attempting to do one YouTube video, and it's too complex and eventually they give up permanently. Okay, a key to starting this is starting from what you can do, like I said in the last time. So currently on LinkedIn I have written more than 800 posts on LinkedIn, not articles, post. But my aim is to write long blogs. I can't yet write them. So I started from writing WhatsApp status, then I moved to some Instagram stories, and then I started small LinkedIn posts, and now I'm quite good at writing LinkedIn posts. And then in 6 8 months I'll be better at writing longer posts, and then I'll switch to articles, and then I'll switch to blogs. So take on fewer and simpler projects, complete them first, and then in this, what will happen is average turnaround time will improve. So I really love this business word turnover. Okay, so in money terms, we use, okay, the business of 10 crore turnover, 20 crore turnover. So turnover is number of money up which is moving through a business. So here in our knowledge book, we can think of turnover of projects. Okay, now we shouldn't just think about the turnover. We should also check the average turnaround time. So how much time it takes for you to, let's say, create a one YouTube video? Probably a month. If you create a YouTube video, it will take you 1 to 2 months. Okay. Or let's say you are writing a blog. How much time it will take? Maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. Now, problem is if you simply do this attempt, this to be smaller. So instead of blog, you make it a short blog. And I love things like LinkedIn posts. So the thing about LinkedIn posts is they disappear. Nobody cares about the old posts because no one scrolls down to find them. Okay. The things which are forgotten, you can experiment without fear because they are not on your permanent record. Okay. So make the project simpler and keep doing it. I know professional bloggers who used to need 2 to 3 months for their big blog, but they kept doing it, and in 2 to 3 around how much time? I think I know that guy in a year, he was able to finish a blog in less than a week. Or YouTubers who needed 2 months before can finish a video in 4 days. I myself needed around a week or two to write the article on LinkedIn. Now I can write it in 5 minutes. So the key message here is make the project smaller, attempt to complete it, and keep attempting the smaller project so that the average turnaround time for you reduces, and then attempt the complex project. Instead of directly going to YouTube video, make a simpler thing, maybe an Instagram story which is forgotten, or a LinkedIn story. Make these stories from idea to draft to completion, and that's the kind of like way for a significant project completion. Now, moving forward. So this was the piece of project planning for completion. And in this, let me show you my Evernote. So this is my Evernote. And in this, if you just check for tasks, So podcast intro, this is my thing. And in this, I had decided a project. These were the sub tasks wherein finding the service to upload the video on. This was a sub part of this. Finding software sub part. So a lot of thing is already done here. And I have other projects. So in this short thing, I don't have the projects, but I can show you. For example, let me just show ML Ops. Is this the one? Uh, Not this. Okay, I think it's somewhere else. Let me just show you here. I had created it in a different node. Yes. Wait, where have I saved this? Okay, this link. Yes, this link. So another project I kind of like did was this one. It's this cohort only. The productivity workshop which I'm running right now. I divide this into small components like this, and I did this one by one, checking them off, checking them off. Unit number one, this was the work. Cohort launch, this was the work. Unit number two, I'll check off today. This is how the incrementally work is done. So this was the project planning for completion. Okay. Then let's go for organizing for actionability. Okay. Now, important part here, it's like I'm sure you guys would have watched this movie. So on the left hand side, it's a movie called as Limitless. On the right hand side, it's a movie called as Lucy. Both of them showed superhumans. Okay. So I like Limitless movie more because whatever is shown in Limitless is actually possible. Okay, a person who is very common, he becomes so smart and ambitious that he can easily become president. This is the journey shown in that movie, Limitless. Okay, one of my favorite quotes from that movie was this: everything I had ever read, heard, seen was now organized and available. Okay, this is the key insight of the movie. Okay, everything he had ever read, heard, or seen was organized and available for use. Organized to find and available for use. These are the key terms, key meaning of this. So anyone who can do this becomes a superhuman, a super powerful superhuman. So this is what this productivity system actually allows you to become. If I show you my this thing, so whenever I'm actually, let's say, teaching or going to anything, this 1514 notes, so comprehensive that whatever I have learned, I just have to learn it intentionally, take notes, and then finishing work, giving a presentation, let's say creating some blog or something, it become very easy. So my memory is expanded by quite a lot. So organization of the information is quite important, and let's learn that. So Brian Tracy, writer of Eat That Frog, it's like organization is essential. Whatever is needed for the work, put it into one place and then start executing. Okay, so let's go. Let's check at this stage of the project completion. Planning is step number one. Organization is step number two. Execution is step number three. Most of the time goes into execution. We do planning once. We do organization once. Okay. And rest of the time is spent into execution. So let me go into details. So uh, this is our brain. This is rendered via each and individual neuron in our brain. Okay. In past, whenever let's say Vedas we have or Ramayana or Mahabharata, okay, they were in form of poems. Why? Because poems are easier to remember. Okay, so before, whenever we needed to pass on information, we needed to remember it. So the person who was extremely successful was the one who had an amazing memory. Okay, but that was before invention of writing. When writing came, It is like information remembering was no longer needed. It was the finding the information. So librarian knew a lot of books, what they contained. And librarian was then a really knowledgeable person, not because he knew the knowledge, he knew where the knowledge was, and then he could find and read and get you the answer. Now Google does the same thing. Okay. But problem is this knowledge is not your knowledge. And right now there is too much knowledge. Okay. So we need a better thing. And that better thing is actually we need to build a book or a brain of our own. Okay. The brain which is our knowledge. The brain which contains the information relevant to us, not the whole chaos on internet. Okay. So this is the state we are in. You're on Facebook, you're on LinkedIn, you're on Twitter, you're on YouTube. I'm sure everyone has consumed quite a bit of information just today. If you want to see, simply install this extension called as, let's see, wait, History Trends Unlimited. Okay, simply install this extension called as History Trends Unlimited, and it will tell you what is the average this thing. So daily stats on an average, I visit 260 pages. And I actually use two laptops at the same time. So depending on which room I'm working in, this is how this thing is. So as you can see, this is the general number of pages you visit. It's a lot of information. Okay. Some book you are reading, some tweet you saw, some article you read, blah, blah, blah. And some of it sticks in your brain, some of it doesn't. Rather, most of it doesn't, and it is wasted. All the knowledge we build is like filling a leaky bucket. It feels great to make the bucket full, but over time, you forget everything. And that's the most unfortunate part. And I also did the same thing. I read a lot, but I forgot a lot. Now I read differently. I read way less now. But whatever I read, I save it in a central place to read again later. And more I read that, better my memory becomes. And it's like I can use that into my knowledge. So any book I read, any notes I take, even stuff on LinkedIn or Twitter, it feels like a time pass for most of people. But the stuff I find on LinkedIn and Twitter, it actually becomes quite useful to me. What? A central system to organize information and then use that information in the work we are supposed to do. And this work, remember, win-win projects. A most common win-win project is something related to branding. You are simply sharing the knowledge you have. Okay. So, like what I'm doing right now, simply sharing the knowledge you have enables you to establish your presence as authority and helps you get a better job. Doing that helped me get into Google. Doing this helps me into getting, let's say, audience for my courses or even general recognition or getting invites for even TEDx talks. Okay, I was invited to two TEDx talks and both of them are on TED.com. Okay, my goal is in next 5 years I want to give a TED talk, and reaching there, how is it going to happen? By continuously sharing the knowledge so that it goes to more people, and eventually either they will invite me or I will recommend myself, and let's see what happens. So central place is quite important, and that central place is going to be Evernote. Okay. So Evernote is going to be our execution medium. So whatever project planning you are going to do, you can do that in Evernote. Whatever organization of information you are going to do, you can do that in Evernote. Okay. So it has these three features. The features which we lack. Okay. It's easy to save information in it. If we want to remember something, we need to repeatedly read it and then only it goes into a long-term memory. Whereas in Evernote, easy to save. If you want to find something, it's quite difficult. Okay. We need to remember the exact stuff. And many a times, it's we call it as brain fart. We don't want brain fart to happen. So Evernote avoids that. Okay. So anyone who is preparing doctors, UPSC, these two fields are something which have a huge information. Okay. Also, anyone who is a trainer. So Govinda here. Govinda is not here. So anyone who is a trainer, you also have to deal with a huge information. Anyone who is into management, you also have to deal with lots of information, different people, different trends, different features, whatever. Managing and remembering and using that information, what we generally tend to do is we tend to use our brain. Okay, and that's the worst thing we can do, because our brain has difficulty, it takes a lot of time and efforts to commit something to long term memory. It's unpredictable process trying to recall something. Okay. For example, if I ask you the top five trends in your industry, you might not be able to remember all of them immediately. But if you are a millennial kid, let's say Tantana Tan Tan Tantana, if I say this song, you'll remember its entire lyrics. Or some random movie, let's say movie like Gupt, or movie like Kal, or movie like Om Shanti Om. You will remember the tunes, songs, details. Why? Because we remember a lot of stuff, but it's not really useful. So, and we also forget important relevant stuff. Why? Because we are depending on the brain. If we move to a digital software, it will act as our second brain, where saving is easy, using is easy, applying is easy, there is no forgetting, and it's a unit where we can plan, organize, and execute projects. Okay, so this is the kind of like key thing. That asked to kind of like install Evernote software. This was the kind of like assignment I gave in last session, rather on WhatsApp. There are alternatives. You can use Notion, you can use Obsidian, Roam Research, OneNote. Anything can do. It's just an external place to save all that information. For example, I use Notion as well. Thus, creating a course and the content of that entire course, which was quite complex, I had put entirety of that in Notion. So, depending on whatever I'm using, I'll use the tool which makes sense for that situation. So let's say ML content. This was a tabular structure, and in each thing there was a lot of work. Okay, there was a lot of work which went here. So, example of using Notion. So Evernote is easy. It's quite easy to use, and okay, it's a good choice. Okay, now let's move forward, and let me just talk about this thing. So we are in the times of email chats. So you could be using Microsoft Teams, Google Chat, Slack, Discord, doesn't matter. Lots of information is fragmented across chat apps, browser bookmarks, emails, downloaded files, conversations we had in person, Google Docs, Word docs, too many stuff. Our bookmarks are more than 7,000. Okay. The stuff in information and emails, which is relevant, it's a lot. So if sometimes we remember, oh, that this information is present somewhere, then we try to find it. We have to spend significant amount of time, 3 to 4 minutes to find information. And every time we need to find something, we need to spend 3 to 4 minutes. Much better way is centralize. Okay, centralize and limit the information so that all the relevant stuff is in one place and we can use it whenever needed. Okay, so this is the kind of like key message in the organization. Okay, any questions here? Does the problem of too much information, not finding the relevant stuff, is it relevant? Do you think having a better organization system will help? What do you think? You can either type in chat or you can unmute yourself and speak.
I
From
think it
my
can
side,
definitely help in reducing information overload and organizing things better.
So, do you think having a system like this will help you?
Yes, especially when I'm looking for something and to give one example of Google Docs. When I read books, I
Hmm.
write my own summary and in Google Docs. And I have different folders
Correct.
in Google Drive to save each folder. But it will be ideal to have tree kind of structure so that I can see everything, so that I don't have to go into each folder to check where I have saved this information, this book summary, searching information.
Exactly. So Google Docs and or Word docs, it's difficult to find it immediately. Whereas if you do something in Evernote, it's instantaneous, it's responsive. You can quickly actually find and use that stuff. So Evernote is really incredible that way, and I love how efficient it is. And the another thing is like your knowledge becomes permanent. So let me show you an example. So currently, I am transitioning into a new subpart of ML ops, machine learning operationalization. Okay, I have planned my work like this. Okay, so this is very interesting. So I am going to read information to learn this new thing, and I'm going to learn this thing, and this is going to become knowledge in my brain. While I am doing that, I'm going to be posting videos, short videos on LinkedIn, short post on Twitter. So while I'm learning, I'm going to build my brand. Okay. And I'm also going to take notes. So this knowledge is going to become notes. The reason of taking notes is in long term, I want to create a consistent YouTube channel, publish consistent blog, and write a book as well. And the book not on Chindi Pact or something. I want to get published in O'Reilly or Tata McGraw Hill or something. And it's like I am doing that work right now. So this is the incremental thing. So right now, this is the plan. If you check, this is my plan, and I've started the steps on it like this. This is the plan outline. I created these many courses I want to actually do. This is the general real life implementation stuff I'll fill in. And this is the details of the video number one and video number two I have planned. So this is a kind of like a very selfish way of learning. So ML ops, because I've been asked to deliver the training in my job. So I anyways need to learn, but I'm not gonna keep that knowledge and let it go to waste. I'm gonna build my brand at the same time. I'm going to build my knowledge at the same time. This red part is for me. This red part is for me. This is short-term win. This is long-term win. And then using this knowledge, which I have built in my brain, I'll be delivering training. So as you can see, you can extract a lot of information for yourself in anything you are generally doing in your job. Any thoughts on this? Anything?
Hi, Mayank here. So I think I can.
Mayank, I can't actually hear you. Can you just type because your voice is not actually that great right now? I think the connection is shaky or headphones.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible now. Yes.
I think headphone has to remove. Thank you. The point is, what I think is that we need to be open-minded with this thing. At least I can say in my case, I have to be very
Hmm.
open-minded with this case that uh, whatever we do, try to find a balance between win-win. This will
That-
not become a two task or two thought process. This will remain individual, single-sighted goal where you are winning and the team is winning and you are on the I would not say favorite at least, but at least you are will be in a good state of saying and a personal happiness and a professional happiness. That at least works
Definitely.
clinically in that sense, I can see.
Definitely. So I actually get more traction. So I had actually marketed a book by an author who works in Google in machine learning team. Uh, my post got more views than his posts about his book. It wasn't my book. He wrote the book. He wrote the post about it, and I wrote the post about his post. I got way more views than him. Why? Because I was doing this information consistently. I also got more views than our marketing team because of doing this consistently. So this is not a hypothetical thing. It works. I follow it in real life, and I'm sure if you start thinking on these terms, it will help you tremendously.
You're referring win-win situation, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one of the discussions which I had, I mean, last year in one of my friendly calling with one of the friend in the office colleague, and he was saying you should. I said I'm doing some certification. He said, okay, good, learning is good, but
that is something your boss approves. I said, I don't care if you approve or not. I'm gonna spend my own
Mm.
money and learn it, and then I'll keep it. He said entirely fine, but how about this? What he want you start learning as well. I said in that way I thought you are trying to say चाटो मैं कहा भाई मैं वो काम नहीं करने वाला हूँ.
Correct, correct.
It was a wrong interpretation of what his suggestion. It was definitely my fault. Now I can
Mm,
realize what he was saying is
mm.
entirely. Boss was saying same again thing. Learn at least first AWS, then Google secondary. I said no, I'm gonna learn
Right,
first Google, then AWS. Eventually, I did Google
right,
in my own attempt, but
right,
would have been I think better idea if you have went in his direction, like first AWS and then GCP. He's happy. Another day I'm
right.
gonna learn out eventually, right? So I should have listened to his
Correct.
advice, but in a different way. That's I think my
But it's
first.
a point of view, right? So it's difficult to get it right. And even having this is a transformation in mindset. So this is something which you did not know, and now you do, and it will change everything you look at in future. And that's a great achievement in itself.
It is, and it is definitely. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So let's start with the key point here. So we want to separate information and focus on the stuff needed for completion. Okay. Let me show an example. So okay. So just a second, Mayank, I'm muting you because there is some noise coming. Okay. So the podcast which I am working on, becoming a technical trainer. So if you check, this is the list of everything I could do in the podcast. Okay, which will contain more than 15 to 20 episodes. So if you check uh, here, I think this is the outline. Not this one. Tools for royalty, train the trainer, no. Planning. Oh, this is planning. This is the entire outline. So in my current plan, season one, how many episodes? Nine. Season two, how many episodes? Around no, 18. Season two, it's like 18 plus 9, 27 plus okay, 33. So as you can imagine, this is the total possibilities. So if I keep all the information, so this is my project. I want to do podcast. There is stuff in which the notes I have taken while I was doing job. Okay, random thoughts I thought while doing. Okay, so these are the stuff I thought about. How should the content be? How should public speaking be? How should teaching be done? So random thoughts. I haven't sat and spent a lot of efforts doing this. Just randomly over the course of days. So as you can see, on teaching, I started writing notes from, let's say, what is this? 16th of November 2019, 17th of November. So in year 2019, I wrote around 5 notes. In year 2020, I wrote around maybe, 20 something notes. So it's very slow. Now, by separating information, which is essential for a project, and keeping it in that project will limit distraction. So you see, information is a double-edged sword. Okay. It is also useful, and it is also something which can distract you from the thing which we want to achieve, which is completion. So if we think of information as fuel, fuel, sufficient fuel is needed so that we can finish the journey. But if the wrong type of fuel is there, the journey won't start. Or if too much fuel is there, maybe the vehicle will explode. So you see, we want to limit the information so that will get the work done and so that we won't get distracted. So the general information related to our area of responsibility. So the one-on-one calls we have with our manager, or the things which are relevant to our job, or some links we need to constantly check. For example, the team doc or stuff like this. So these are general information which we need to see quite frequently. And let's say personal interest you might have. So I'm interested in evolution. I'm interested in meditation. I'm interested in, let's say, Buddhism. So these things which are my personal interest, separating this information with the information which I need, separating this with the information I need to finish the project, it's essential. Not all information is same. My interest are my interest. They are not applicable in projects. This areas which, general information, I need it regularly, maybe once a week, once a month, or something like this. But this is not you needed every day. So we need to separate the information according to its priorities. And this is how the separation should be done. This is how the separation should be done. So P stands for projects. A stands for areas. R stands for resources. And A is archive. Anything which is not belonging to this. Okay. Let me show how this looks like. This is my Evernote. P stands for projects. A stands for areas. 3 is for resources, archive. Archive is, I had conducted this cohort, this is that. I recently finished my performance evaluation. When I was working on this was an active project. Okay, so for this active project, I had to go through a lot of documents. I had to kind of like find out the rating I had in this thing, what I did, find out details. As you can see, these are all the details of this thing, or someone else's performance, taking inspiration for this, taking summary. So it was something which took me around 3 4 days to do this. And when this thing was done, my project of my writing my performance evaluation was done. Now it will go to archive. Why archive? Why not delete? Because eventually, when this performance review starts again next year, okay, at that point, whatever stuff I did the last time is gonna make execution easier. So, archive stuff so that we can reuse stuff. Okay. Any project you did, let's say any talk you give, any newsletter you write, or any code thing you wrote, reusing that knowledge is what archive makes it possible. So projects are the active projects which you are committed to finishing. Areas are in general areas. So this is my personal area. So how to do career growth, improving my EQ. So just got married. I don't want my marriage to go to shit. So it's like improving EQ because I'm a very blunt and loud guy, and kind of like I need to work on my EQ so that conflict is reduced. So working on that, or I want to decide my future. So this is the future planning. So this are personal wins. So as you can see, these are my areas. How frequently do I visit them? Not very frequently, maybe once a month. But keeping this in mind is important. Resources are, my personal interest. So the books I read, they go into resources. So education, evolution, meditation, or there are a lot of interests I have. I They are organized like this. So you see, after 5 6 years, I want to start an education tech company. Okay, and these are the general thoughts I keep having. This is like, let's say, article I read by Yuval Harari. I thought it was quite relevant. I just, highlighted it and saved it here. Or kind of like, this is something on fake guru thing. I really realize that fake gurus and education have a lot in common. We should avoid to be like fake gurus in education. So stuff like this. Okay. So this is a preparation for the company which I'm going to start in 5 years. So projects, areas, resources. Resources, very infrequent, very casual. Areas, important, personal, but again, still casual. Projects are the things which we are working on right now. So we have a few. Manali here is doctor, and she is doing her job and at the same time preparing for some exam. So that exam is a project. Okay. So that exam is a project, and this is how you kind of like define, just like I did here. So I did it like this. I decided, okay, these are these many courses I want to actually finish, and then I'll take them one by one. So these many courses, I've decided to start these two courses. So course number one, I kind of like went through lecture number one. These are my notes. I went through lecture number two. These are my notes. So it's all the study and everything, all the study and everything, all the notes go here. And this is how I finish learning as well, and keep on track and never forget the learning. Okay, so projects, areas, resources, and archive. Para for short. Okay. And this para is a structure. It's very important structure. So this is from this article. Okay. I love this Sherlock Holmes. I don't know if you have read Sherlock Holmes. This article is quite amazing. Okay. So Sherlock Holmes says something like this. Where are my highlights? Okay, wait, they're coming.
Just a quick question on this observation, right? You have this
Yes,
link
good.
saved in your local device, right? On the, I guess this is a laptop, right? Under
Yeah,
Evernote. And this
yeah,
highlighter is actually keeping there. So whenever you load this article, it comes by default there, right?
correct.
I mean, to avoid the time of going through the entire article and focusing on what exactly you are looking for. But you are
Yes.
only saving the link. And just go to your Evernote, please, again. Don't
Okay.
mind.
So right now this is just a link here. Okay. But in
Uh-huh.
reality, what I do is this is going to be covered in unit number 4. But
Okay.
the way to read articles or book is with a extension called as Gigo. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the article I read, and whatever stuff was important from it, these are all the highlights. So next time I come across this, I don't have to read the whole thing. I can directly jump to the highlights. And because I have, limited highlights, I know a lot of stuff. So while creating this slide, I know it's like Limitless, the movie which I used. I knew that because I had saved the screenshot of it long time back. And because, I had, organized it, I kind of remembered it. Similarly, I knew I had tagged it somewhere. So what I did is I searched attic on my Google. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this thing has been connected. I don't know. This browser hasn't connected. But yes, you see, in my Google, there is connectivity with my Digo library and Evernote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the attic thing, it has searched. It told me this is where the attic was included. These are the two places, and this is the place in my this thing. Details of memory. So these are the places where attic stuff. So all I need to remember, oh, there is something called as attic where this stuff was needed. So I found this article, I found this article, I found this, I found this, and just reading this will quickly allow me to, refresh whatever I needed, and voila, I'll directly use it.
Very interesting. I mean, I didn't know the Chrome can integrate your different extensions as well and search through them as well.
Yeah, you have to install those extension and configure it. So
Mm.
if you take a paid membership of Digo and Evernote, it allows you to do that. You have to install extension. So I don't have to go to Digo and Evernote separately. So
Mm.
I ensure that whatever I do is either in Digo or Evernote. Okay. And then it's very easy. You just search something and wherever it is, you'll find it. Okay. For example, let me switch to my primary Evernote. And let me show you the complexity of my current Evernote structure. So I have huge interest, and whatever notes I have taken from those interests, it's saved in Evernote, and it's actually quite useful. So if I go to my notebooks here, these are my interest topics. So 27 interest topics. So ADHD, Asperger's, branding. So branding, I didn't know before. Over time, I learned it. Kind of like Buddhism, I'm learning to deal with, I have anxiety disorder. So learning to deal with anxiety better. So Buddhism is, I'm doing research on it to kind of like help me do that. Career growth, education, evolution, flow is a state of ultra focus. And, I've been researching this for a long time, and now it has come together and has helped my productivity, or, how to read a book, mistakes, productivity, reflection, blah, blah, blah. And remember, in para, there is one thing. This is quite important breakthrough. Okay. Para also contains personal stuff. Okay. So if you check, this is my personal area. Okay. This is just slow. Let me close this. This is my personal area. I won't show the notes in it, but overcoming my depression, overcoming trauma, overcoming kind of like anxiety, this thing, or being a better husband, uh, my career brand, all these things are my personal areas. It's not like I'm sitting every day and working on these things. I'm like, you know what? Let's kind of like think in what direction do I want to go in future. And you see, creating AI video, creating productivity courses, predicting this thing I had create. It's something I have been thinking about a long time, and eventually, what is the best way I figured out on my own. Okay, so you see, we know our context best. And when we know our para, it allows us to execute stuff in an extremely precise manner. It allows you to execute projects better. It allows us to fulfill the responsibilities better. It allows to fulfill the resources better. So interest is for self. The win-win project is also for self. Okay. And the responsibilities are for others. Anyone who is focusing only on the responsibilities which they have to do for other people, eventually they will burn out and they will, where is the stuff for me? So we can't be fully selfless. So resources are for ourselves. When we do more of selfish stuff, we can do more of selfless stuff. And that's this hierarchy: projects, areas, resources, archive. Any questions, thoughts?
Uh,
I Yeah, go ahead.
you please go
Go ahead,
ahead.
Azim.
Thank you. So I have few questions. Okay, I have wrote down actually. Yeah. So let's say I have a, what I usually do is that when I'm going through a website, I have a specific and that website has a specific use. For example, if I'm learning specialized domain in machine learning, or found a new research
Hmm,
paper in a specific other
hmm.
domain, or found an open source
Correct.
idea, I have categorized all these into different type of bookmark folders. Okay, I add those.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm assuming. Correct me if I'm wrong. So assuming that adding these bookmark would come under area or projects
Yes.
or resource
Yes. Area. And
area.
okay, you have asked a great question. So just a second. Huh?
Uh-huh.
You have ML ops related stuff, let's say, or
Sure.
what's the stuff you are currently working on? What's
So
the
I'm
project you recently marked?
Yeah. So I'm working on a project which combination of signal processing and machine learning.
Okay. So signal processing plus, let's say, ML. Okay. You found
Right.
articles related something to it. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's say there is a research paper which is like a latest breakthrough in what is the amazing signal processing we have, state of the art. So that
Mhm.
research paper we have, okay, and there is a GitHub repository which is relevant to the stuff we could use immediately. The research paper, even though related to signal processing, will go into area, not even area, sorry, it will go into resource. And the GitHub repository which you are going to use will go on project. Why? We
Mhm.
do not want the papers, which I am sure you would have 100, 200 plus bookmark papers. Correct me if
Right.
I'm wrong.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? And when we start, we find so much great stuff and we get distracted in that great stuff from finishing some of the stuff. That's why this hierarchy is important. Projects are the highest priority. Whatever you find, you put it into resource. If it is very relevant, for example, if you are doing stuff related to signal processing frequently, if you are a signal processing guy in your company, then anything related to that will probably go into area. Why? Because that's your responsibility, that's your area of expertise. Okay. But the projects which you are working on, we need to kind of like decide only fraction of the stuff we find is actually relevant to the project completion. And that is what we call as actionability. So the paper, is it relevant to finish the project? Not that much. Is it useful? Yes. But is it relevant to finishing? No. So useful versus uh, needed for completion. These two are completely different things. Even though it's useful, we need to actually deprioritize it to finish the execution. That's why we need to have these hierarchies. So right now, Azim, I am sure you will have, like me, lots of archives. So you see, this is my
Yeah.
archive for TensorFlow and PyTorch one-on-one. This is my archive for demos. This is my archive for data visualization. This is my archive for Netflix recommendation. This is my archive for ML production. Sorry, bookmarks. This is for Kubernetes. So you see, there is so much good stuff here
Hmm.
that I will not use any of it because it's too much.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. What about let's say personal development or communication? I'm reading books on improving communication or personal development. Adding those books or
Okay.
the
So
yeah,
those
my summary.
books, okay,
Yeah.
those books are resources. Okay. You are reading that book, it's a resource. Okay. Let me just show you an example. I did the exact same thing. So improving my communication because my job is as a trainer. Let's see. Let me find out that book and tell you how to go about doing it.
Hmm.
Mm, This is the article and returns result. Okay. So this is the book which was on how to do better storytelling so that you are more captivating. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is just information related to book. This will go into resource. Now, when you decide, okay, you know what? I need to improve my storytelling. Or you say, okay, in your case, let's say you want to improve your design of the slides. Then you will create a project for create slides with better design. So you will take inspiration from this, but skill development happens through practice, right?
Hmm.
That's why we need to create project involving that, and then actually kind of like that knowledge becomes a real skill. So
Hmm.
to show an example, let me just show you even mm, for template. So I was again reading this summary. Okay, I was reading this summary. I kind of like realized, oh, my designs of PowerPoint are not that great. So I went to this websites. So there are two websites. One website called as Creative Market, another website Evanato, and I have bought I've spent around more than 6-7 thousand rupees buying PowerPoint templates. I haven't yet gotten time to actually integrate those templates, but okay, these are the templates. So PowerPoint bundles, these many PowerPoint bundles I have. So this would have been just a resource, but going through all of them and actually creating a template of shortlisted slides for me to use in my session. Now that is a project. So you see,
Hmm.
this this thing is open. Just a second. Okay, I have around 75 slides here, which I could use in my slide deck. Now, this is a project. This is a information actually used. Okay, useful information versus used information. There is a big difference in that. We confuse, we think both are the same, but no. Used information is tremendously helpful. Useful, it's fine.
Okay, how about I read a book. I have a summary. Okay, that would go summary document would go into resource. But how about I
Resource, yes.
created a mental map? Let's say these are the steps. What I learned from this book. I have a detailed summary that I wrote for myself if I want to read in detail. But I also have a very focused mental map flowchart.
Correct. So let's say mental map, if you have, it's still a resource. Okay,
Okay,
but
okay.
let's say in that book there is stuff related to communication, there is stuff related to relationship, and there is stuff related to, let's say, strategy.
Mhm.
Now the stuff related to relationship from it, that will belong into area. Just that part. because you want to actually work on your relationship. If you want to do that, then it will belong into your area. So kind of like you are not distracted. So you see the number of projects you have will be the smallest. Areas will be a bit bigger than them. Resources will be a lot bigger. Okay. And what happens is you might have detailed mind maps, but out of those, what is relevant to you is important. And that's how the distribution of information is changed. Make sense?
Yes, it does. It's quite clear now. Yes, thank you. Thank you for elaborating.
So here in my general personal areas, so the stuff related to anger and boundaries, drawing boundaries, EQ. So this would have belonged to a book or even something called as personal. Where is role model? So yeah. So in my resources notebook, I actually keep even the books notes or the stuff related to TV shows which I find useful. But there is a book called as Harry Potter and Methods of Rationality. This book actually taught me how to think better, so much that this is one of my most impactful books. This is my personal area. Why? Because I go and read this very frequently. I'd seen this anime called as Baby Steps. I have seen a lot of shows. Okay. What I do is I actually just a second. Let me show you how I watch movies. Uh okay, so whenever I'm watching a movie, I actually download the MP4 file. Okay. And I use a player called as SM player. And if I just press a button S, whatever is present at that moment, its screenshot is saved. Okay, so this is from a movie Cars. Any of you guys seen that movie?
I haven't actually.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, so
Yes, I have
uh,
seen.
Cars movie. So this is the instance. So he says, "Hey, thanks a lot for the drive. I had a great time." It's kind of nice to slow down every once in a while. Okay, this thing is actually relevant to me because I've been having anxiety and panic attacks because I'm working too hard. Okay. So this thing is relevant to me. So this will move from resources to the relevant area. Or let's say, this is, whatever I see, I'll take screenshot. So I have how many? I have 3,332 screenshots. I will organize them according to para. The stuff which is relevant to me will go into areas. There is a lot of stuff. It's useful, but not immediately impactful. This is how the structure is. So para is a way of prioritizing and organizing. If you focus 90% of your time and attention on resources, there is something wrong. Most of the attention should go to projects. Let's make it 80%. Let's make it 10% on our areas, not even 10. I think 15% on your areas and maybe 4% on resources. Most of the time. So I think Purushottam, maybe you had said this. We spend a lot of time on learning. That learning knowledge is actually a resource. Okay. So using the knowledge is something which is area or a project. Time should be, most of time should go into projects and then areas and resources. That's why this hierarchy is very important. Does it make sense? It's a lot of different to and fro, but I hope it makes sense.
Yeah. It's quite clear now. Yeah. Thank you for elaborating.
Okay. So let me just finish with a few more important parts. This para structure you should replicate everywhere. So I use things task manager and so task management. These are the list of the project. So this is screenshot taken by the guy who created the building a second brain course. So it's like Evernote, the same structure. In his Dropbox, the same structure. In his Google Drive, the same structure. So if you go to my OneDrive, this is my OneDrive. And in my OneDrive, I organize files again in para. So right now, I still haven't done it perfectly, but these are my active projects. Right now, I haven't actually done this, but this is the stuff I'm reading and the stuff I'm currently reading. Only that stuff will go here. So para is something which is for everywhere, even in bookmarks. Okay. Right now, my project is building a second brain course. This is that bookmark. So, Azim, the bookmarks which you did for the papers and all. Okay, right now I can show you. I had these many bookmarks. So let me just show, go to Chrome / bookmark. These are my past bookmarks on ML production. And as you see, I am currently working on a ML project. So this is relevant to me. 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 Okay. So out of how many bookmarks I had, these many are relevant to me immediately. So I'll move this into a project, which is going to be a project on MLOps. So let me just create something. I don't know. Let's create something called as here, add folder and project, which is MLOps. Okay. And even in MLOps project, these are not immediate. Okay. The only thing which is prioritized right now is actually none of this here. So it is relevant. So, but I should be keeping this somewhere else related to project. Only the stuff which is instantaneously relevant to doing this ML ops, which is still present. So I am currently on in my, if I go into my ML ops, I am currently on the lecture number 5 of this system design course. And I am currently on lecture number 4 of this MLOps specialization course. So in my bookmarks, only 2 links should be there so that I don't get distracted by useful but not immediately useful stuff. This is how we use information, because the information is so much, we get distracted in the information instead of focusing on the project. You see, the hierarchy is information is only present to be used in project completion. Whereas currently, because of information abundance, we are playing with information, playing in information, and projects are getting deprioritized. That's the sad truth of current times. I did this mistake for until past 6 months. I did this mistake. I've recently realized information is a means to an end. It's not end in itself.
That's true.
Take 30 seconds of your time. The
Okay.
last week, at least the chord which really hit me was win-win, and this week
Yeah.
uh, sixer for me, which is blowing my mind, is information is a means, and the projects are a task which need to get done, which need to be completed. But we are in abundance of information. Obviously, clarity is there, but we are flowing and drowning in the information and focusing on that part. And it's
Yes.
interesting fact that I just simply changed my own note on my wall on paper that the para has just should be have 80% priority on project, 15% priority
Yeah.
on areas, and then 14 and 1 I can say, as at least for a reference
Yeah.
for visibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So just one last part. Okay. You should take time and try to figure out what is your para. Okay. What are the projects you are working on? What are the areas you are responsible for? And most importantly, what are the stuff you are interested in? Resources is your interest. Okay. Resources is, like I said, are for self. Even in projects, you should have at least few stuff which is for yourself. Okay. When we do enough self care, we can care for others. That's the reality of it. So we can have energy for the areas if we do spend enough time in the projects we like and resources we like. And when you know what are your para, then any information you see has potential to be useful to you. Okay, this is the key insight. Any LinkedIn post, any Twitter feed, any stuff in newsletter, it has potential to be useful if you know what is your para. Okay, let me give you an example. So I had created this notebook just to show this example. Okay, I didn't keep track of this, but it's still fun example to actually know. Just a second. Mm, okay, so this is a case study. So on what, 6th of July, maybe 20th of June, I was talking a friend of mine. I was just curious, okay, what is he doing now? Because he used to be my competitor. Okay, so I was talking for finding his profile on LinkedIn. I didn't find it. And then I saw a LinkedIn post which is on a product called as Show Me. So it was a person has developed had developed an extension called as Show Me, and this was the link. Okay, so I checked its product hunt page. Okay, it was a product rank 2 for that day. Then I just scrolled down and I kind of like checked into, you know what, let's see what are the other projects out there. And you see, in that random thing, I found a cookie pop-up blocker, the stuff which annoys me a lot. I found out a extension to organize my Twitter bookmarks. I found an extension to help my productivity. I found these extension which I use in my training examples. Okay, I found these links which are relevant to me in my podcast project. I found this thing which is useful to my teaching. I found this thing, this is going to be useful to me in future to create videos. You see, this random thing, finding someone's profile on LinkedIn, then saw a random post, from that went to this random link, from there scrolled this thing. You see, in that single span of 3 hours, I found so much information which was useful to me. How did I find this information? The thing is, think of information as radio. Let me just swap. This is the final key point here. Okay,
Just,
think.
just to, I'm sorry to interrupt now. Just to
Yeah.
stay on that particular example of your previous random hunt, right?
Hmm.
Uh, what was your original thought of finding that guy under your para category?
No, it wasn't. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Para, if you kind of spend time and make list of your para, what happens is this you will remember in your brain. Okay. I actually immediately, so information, any information I come across, I will immediately subconsciously evaluate it against my para. And then any information is immediately put into two parts, useful to me or irrelevant. There could be some information which is great, but not relevant to me. Okay. So our thing is useful to me means what? It's relevant to me. Okay. So knowing the para allows you to filter the information which could be useful to you as an individual.
Okay.
So you see, everyone is having lots of information. When you know what is your own para, it's like you are tuning into the frequency. You will find that information. I am sure if you just make a list of what are the projects you are working on, what are the things you are interested in, what are the areas you are responsible for, just make a list. In the next week, you will notice a lot of relevant stuff just casually. You might watch a movie and you're like, you know what? This is useful to me. You see, the baby stuff, which is the anime, which I use for productivity in my personal area, which is my aspirational role models. I wasn't watching this TV show with intention to, learn from it. I wasn't reading this Harry Potter book with intention to learn from it. I was just reading it casually. And I realized, oh, this is amazing thought process. And improving my thinking is one of my areas. So I kind of like immediately connected the novel to this. I was watching this TV series Food Wars. Okay. Food Wars is an extremely time pass anime, but I was watching it, and while watching it, I kind of like realized, oh, this quality in this is really important because I had been making notes on it. So you see, when your para is clear, going back to this slide, when your para is clear, Any information you come across, anything you read, anything you watch, anything you think, anything which comes to you has a potential to be useful to you. You can immediately sort out stuff into two piles: relevant, irrelevant. Okay, irrelevant stuff doesn't mean it's useless. It could be useful to somebody else, but for you, where you are, what you want to do, it's not useful to you. And let's say 90% of stuff is irrelevant, but 10% of stuff is actually relevant. Compared to previously, when all that information would be consumed passively and forgotten, this will allow you to use that 10% of information. That's the thing where I want to conclude. I don't know if this was clear though.
It makes a different sense, but yes, it is relevant. I mean, we have a benchmark to evaluate unfiltered information throughout the day, and it really gives us a like a
Yes,
bit machine whether it's relevant to me or something you in your interest or not. If it is not at all, it means you are just drowning in it, and you are losing
correct.
your 80% time, which is on your project, which is your hands-on execution job, rather than just wasting your time.
Exactly. So it's like extracting the information. So there might be a great self-help book, but if the thing which it is talking about is not relevant to your para, it's actually not that useful.
Okay,
Yep.
I think sorry, I just have another question.
Good, good.
One more question. Okay, so can you give few more examples of area so that we can distinguish between area? So there's a bit of confusion between areas and resource.
I'm going to send a blog which tells you in detail about these things. Okay.
Okay, okay,
But let me just, this is the slide here. So area
okay.
will be stuff like your personal finances. Area will be stuff like your health, personal development, or, the one-on-one calls with manager or people who you manage, stuff like this. This will be an area. Okay. And project will be something with a deadline. So this will be where you can see the difference. Publishing a project, publishing a book is a project, whereas writing is an area. How to write, how to edit, how these stuff are relevant and in areas. But publishing a specific book is an project. In general, writing is an area. Releasing a certain feature, so in your case, Azim, releasing a certain Python package would be a project. But let's say coding design will be an area. Make sense?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I got it, got it.
So
Thank you.
planning a specific dinner will be a project, but spouse would be an area. So it's like over time collecting, okay, these are the things she likes, she doesn't like, blah, blah, blah. So this would be on, this thing. And when you plan, what, I want to do something. So then it's a project. You look in the files in this area, then you decide, okay, I need to do X, Y, Z. These are the planning, these are the gifts, blah, blah, blah. So projects and areas are stuff like this. And as I said, projects are something we want to reduce the information in projects. So areas will have, let's say, 5x more information than projects. Resources will probably have 10 to 20x times the information in areas, and archives don't know. Projects only the stuff essential for completion. We do not want to get distracted by something else which is great but not relevant to what we need to finish on. So this is where the project completion, we want to limit the work in progress. We want to make the project simple so that we can finish them. In the end, we will finish a lot more projects. What happens is, like, when we are doing less work, it feels that we are working less, but we will finish everything. When we are doing a lot of different work on a lot of different projects, it feels that we are productive, but in the end, we are getting nothing done. So, realizing difference between that is this para thing. We want to finish the projects. We want to just maintain the resource areas, and resources are for our own personal things. And whenever any new project comes, we need to organize the stuff in resources areas and put it into the project. This is how it happens. Let me show you a demo. Uh, if I'm starting a new project, let's say there is a project, I want to start a workshop. So learning effectively. This is a workshop I want to actually take, the next workshop I'm working on. So how do I work on this? I'll work on this in this way. So what are the stuff relevant to this? Only relevant stuff. So let's see. In the learning this thing, I know I had sometime written that how to learn in my knowledge part. So if I go into my teaching, so it's like effectively learning. So there will be a few notes here. 4 levels of mastery is relevant. Or so I'll go through all my notes. Okay, I'll go through all my notes and move all the important stuff here. So my this project will contain one file called as project planning. Here I will do the first task will be move all the relevant and only the relevant notes to this notebook. This is going to be my first task. Then the after doing that will be create a general outline for the workshop. Then create let's say 5 units out of those and start creating content one by one. You see the next workshop which I'm planning, learning effectively, it can be summarized into these 4 steps. And I'll do this one by one. And by the time this productivity workshop ends, I would have started almost done 50% of the work related to this new workshop I'm planning. This is how, this is how, just a second. This is how this thing works. Plan, organize, execute. We plan, divide and conquer. Whatever stuff is relevant to the project, we organize it in para format. And we just keep on executing one by one, one by one, one by one. And over time, a lot of work will get done. That's the end point for today. So I can take questions now. Sorry for overflowing the time, but I hope it wasn't too much.
Yeah, need to listen this recording. I think quite some few times, I guess, to grab everything further execute it rather than just simply listening like in a gyan mode, but to grab and
Correct.
then further execute is need some more revision and review and then taking what I can take out of it.
Correct. When you actually apply, you'll find that your productivity is transformed. This is my goal in 2025. So I want to give a TED talk. I want to write 3 books, one book on ML, one book on public speaking, one book on self-improvement. And this is something would have been impossible before. But with help of this system, it's not only possible, it's quite doable. It's not something which is extreme goal, easily possible, simply through following and applying this system. Any questions, any doubts, any thoughts?
Thoughts I would like to just share. Today I was
Good.
reading one book by Prijan Pal Singh. Uh,
Hmm.
it's about like what he learned from APJ Abdul Kalam, and in
Correct.
that he mentioned that Abdul Kalam sir had asked him to write down things, whatever he learns, whatever whenever he's sad and things like that. And I think
Correct.
today I'm hearing the same thing from you, but it is just more organized way in the para. It was only
Right.
about personal things what he had. I mean, for him, it was the project that uh, how I should be remembered was the project for him, and
Correct.
for that, how what he should write, that was the answer. And it is like more generalized and really thanks. Initially, it was difficult for me to understand where you are going because I don't read so much or I don't know. I mean, it was not relating to me. But
Correct.
at the last, when you said that whatever I read, I may read just a single line, but in what area it should be, I mean, in para where it should be that I need to analyze. So that was really a good part. So thanks for it.
Yes.
And
So Mohit, what he said, just a second, let me elaborate on it. So the question, the part which Mohit had read, I had seen his WhatsApp status, is what do I want to be remembered by? Okay. So that was the part which Mohit had highlighted when he was reading this book, Legacy. It was about legacy. Okay. Now, if you think about legacy, this makes a lot of sense for someone who is, let's say, in the middle or end of their career. Someone who is right now in the ambitious phase, probably not that relevant. And in that legacy part, there was also a stuff about gratefulness. Okay. So while reading this, if you know for yourself that you are being, let's say, more anxious or negative in this COVID time, if you know that, then the lesson on gratefulness is more relevant to you. It's more actionable, and you can prioritize that. Even though this legacy advice might be great, but it's not relevant to you right now. One should focus just on the gratefulness part because that is in your para. Whatever you read, whatever you think, focus on the projects the most, areas later, and this is how the hierarchy goes. Sorry, Mohit, I interrupted you. Continue.
no problem, but still that was also informative. And another point I would like, just on a light note, I would like to highlight. Yes, like information is a uh, both-edged saw, we say, and same
Correct.
trick we had implemented during our school days and college days, I guess. Many teachers
Mhm.
just I mean, ask them one question and they used to tell so many stories about others, and we used to like unknowingly bunk that lecture and just listen many uh, non-relevant stuff, I guess. But I found
Correct.
it that way. Yes, information, we used to get much more information from them, but that was not relevant with that particular subject. Just
Or
light
we
note.
could filter that same information and only save the stuff which is relevant for our para. Because right now in this lecture also, there might be six things. But if two of them is relevant to your para, you only focus on that, discard the rest. So it's more about filtering system than how information is there. Because most of the time stuff is random. You have to focus on what you should filter for yourself.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So, guys, anything else? Any questions? Because this is a great time for any thoughts you have. Again, sorry for overflowing, but yes.
Yeah, an observation that I got during the session is that we spend lots of time, in the resources part. Reason being, we
Right.
really like learning, and if we read a blog, article, post, our brain gets this kick of achievement. Yes, I have learned something, right? So we get this winner kick, that dopamine gets released, and we really like it. But if we like look at this whole thing, it might not be very fruitful for my company. It's just that I feel great because I learned it. It might not still not be really great for my career. So yeah, again, something related to productivity porn that you discussed, I really like that term because I am stuck in that. Yeah.
I love what you said, Aryan. This is precisely, I did not think in these precise terms, but you are absolutely right. How many of you guys also feel the same? We spend a lot of time in resources because it feels great.
Yeah, it's kind of addictive.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes, so we should invert the pyramid, focus on the projects. And actually, let's say when you start, let's say podcast. So I'll talk about podcast because it's the project I'm working on. When in a month your podcast is on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google, this thing, that will give you such a bigger kick than, let's say, learning something in just one blog. The thing is, finishing the project takes a month. So the kick you will get after a month. It is going to be a bigger kick, but it is going to take a longer time. Whereas just reading an article and learning something is going to give you immediate but short-lived kick, which is not going to transform your life, whereas projects will. Yes. Any thoughts? Any things?
Okay. Has I mean the like, lot of people from tech world here, right? And you
Yes.
yourself is from the same.
Yes.
So have you noticed this? There is a term called tutorial hell. You keep on watching new tutorials, new. How
Yeah.
to like get out of it?
Okay. So again, just like information is a means to an end, so is a tutorial, right? What happens is tutorial hell is like, oh, this is nice, this is nice, this is also nice, and we get distracted in the amount of tutorials. But how, what, where is that tutorial sitting in your para hierarchy? If you just check on that, I am sure you will get out of that tutorial hell. Only the tutorials which are relevant to the projects are important, then in areas, then in resources. Like this is the hierarchy. So tutorial hell happens when all the tutorials have the same priority. Whereas if you get them into this hierarchy, it's no longer a hell. It's doable thing.
Sure.
I'd
Thank you.
like to share one strategy I follow for breaking
Good.
this loop. So
Hmm.
I mean it's easy to get pirated copies on the internet. If you want to read a book.
Yes.
And again, I had this habit before that I will keep I mean collecting books, but I will hardly read. I mean I'll download a good book that I think I will read, but then I'll forget. I'll move on to something else. So to curb that habit, what I did was I got into the habit of buying actual books. Even if it's Kindle book. Okay, so I'll buy a book. I'll at least go through one to two chapters to see if it is relevant for my situation. If it is relevant, if it is making sense or practically useful. If not, within one to two chapters or three chapters, you will get that sense. If you think that it's not going in that direction, then there is an option in Kindle to return book within 7 days.
Correct.
And same goes for
Right.
online courses also. So I buy courses only which are refundable. So there is a refund policy.
Right.
So I'll
Right.
buy that course if it is a video course. I'll buy that course and within within let's say completing 20 to 25% videos, I'll see if it is making sense, if it is useful or not. Otherwise, I'll refund, and that helps me breaking that loop.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea.
I actually I also did the same when I realized that I had a collection of 100 of gigabytes of tutorials, right? Same for books. So I just one day I deleted all of it. But so I like to read non-fiction books, productivity and all. But lately I realized that in the past few months I have collected a lot of books because I like read like I won't even say reading books, but collecting books. And I have like connected nearly 5 to 10 books now, and I have bought all of them. So, yeah, but yeah, I do use this same method to like minimize it at least. At the very least, I minimize it.
Yeah.
Focus on projects and everything will fall into place. Because the aim of all the learning, the problem in education system is learning is prioritized so much, but learning is an intermediate state. Application of the learning is the key thing. That's what the job is, right? So focusing on that, everything else will fall into place. That's a mistake I also have made. I love reading. I read so much, but that actually distracted me from achieving. Now I'm ruthless in what I read. I'll kind of like Azim did. I'll just I'll download pirated copies, but I'll kind of like look at the index and stuff. I'll be like, okay, is this relevant to me? This, and priority of relevancy, and only read the one which is relevant to me right now. And that's how I'm making more progress because I'm being ruthless in the para hierarchy. And it doesn't mean we don't spend time on resources. If you check my resources, there are a lot of resources and they are incredibly fun. It's not that I don't spend time in this. If you check ADHD, Asperger branding, Buddhism, Korea, it's random stuff. I spend a lot of time here. It's a lot of fun, but I spend more time on projects. So that's the thing. It's not that spend zero time in resources, spend, but just spend more on projects. That's the key thing.
So you use mostly notebook feature of this app.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So in this is the how organization you can do. This is my extremely complex hierarchy right now. But I recommend going, starting in this way. Just a second. Create something called as a stack. So
Mhm.
Evernote has something called a stack, which is collection of notebooks. Okay. And each notebook is a topic. So for example, here, if you check, just a second, this is loading. Mm, ding, ding, ding. Okay, so here, if you check, this is a project stack, and only 5 projects are active. Today, this unit 2 was done. Now, this will go back into this thing. So now this project is done. This is also actually not that relevant. So only 3 things. And Noogler's Guide to Google. So this is a win-win project which I'm doing
Mhm.
right now. The stuff which I'm saving in it, it's not that active. It's just that if I get an idea, I'm like, okay, I'll write something to it. And maybe in 6 or 8 months, from everything I would have collected here, then I'll create a workshop. So even in projects, these two are active projects, and this is a passive project, which I'm just doing, as a time pass whenever I can.
Mhm.
Areas, this is the kind of like area. So this is the notebook relevant to career, future planning, personal wins, thoughts, and resources are kind of like this. So stack is collection of notebooks, and in each notebook, only relevant stuff is present. So if I show EQ, these are the stuff related to EQ. So the 4 parts of EQ, and while watching movie Inside Out, I kind of like learned quite a bit related to EQ. Then notes related to that. So it helps. This is how I organize. So this is how I recommend you also organize projects, areas, resources, and archive. Anything which is not in P, A, or R goes to archive. So that whenever, let's say, you need to use something in archive, you'll find it. If not, it's still there.
Okay, so in EQ, EQ notebook, you have these, I mean, multiple notes or sticky notes.
Yes.
What would you call that? Sticky
Yeah.
note?
It's a
Or
note, and the key point here is each note is on a single topic. Okay. So, for example, the key thing about emotions is, are you feeling the emotion, or are you feeding the emotion, or are you just observing? Okay. So, this is
Mhm.
something which I've struggled with. So, in past 2 years or something, everyone has had trauma in their life, right? Negative stuff, something. So, feeling the trauma doesn't make it worse, but feeding the trauma does. So, let's say I'm feeling anger. I subconsciously found out or remembered other stuff which made me angry. This was the difference between feeling and feeding.
Yeah, feeding means,
Ideally,
rationalizing or, why,
not
why me?
rational, but
Why
oh
me?
yeah, why me? What other instances were there for the same thing? Stuff like this. That's feeding. Okay. And I had mistaken feeling and feeding. So I thought I was just, it said that, the quickest way through pain is direct route through it, through feeling it. Okay. So I thought I was just going the feeling route. But in reality, I was actually feeding the pain or feeding the anger. And that's why situation became worse. So, these are the stuff I kind of like think. So when is the denial? When is the stuff? And kind of like this is a single topic.
And observe
So
is
similarly,
self-awareness, you mean?
yeah,
There's,
observe. So right now, the feeding is the worst thing you can do. Feeling is, middle way. The best
right.
thing to do is observe, but I'm not there yet. And this
Self-awareness, is
note
it?
is up. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not self-awareness, but observing what you're feeling.
Okay.
So it could be a thought. Let's say in past something is coming up. You could feel emotion related to that thought, or you could just observe that I have gotten that thought. So
Looking it from
this is
above,
the
like
hierarchy.
stoicism.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So
Got it.
this note is this single topic, hierarchy of what should be done, feeling versus feeding versus observe. This single note is sadness touched memories. So if you have seen Inside Out movie, there is a real. Have you seen it? Have you guys
Which,
seen this movie, guys?
which one?
Inside Out.
No, no, no. I haven't. Maybe others.
You should really watch this movie. You all should watch this movie. So there is a moment where Mayank, yes.
Mayank, actually, I saw this movie. It was interesting movie. Quite interesting, actually.
It's not just interesting, it's very realistic. So there is a one part here is like sadness. So if you are sad and if you are remembering something, only sad stuff will come out. That is what the sadness touch memory was my note. Okay. So I realized that a lens of emotion determines the perception of the thought. So I realized that whatever I remember in sad mood is of course gonna be sad. It's not actually that sad, it just appears sad. So this is a reminder of that. So it's like, over time, revisiting this and so stuff kind of like helps me get better at it. Or how to handle these different emotions. So right now I'm trying to find out how to deal better with guilt, how to deal with grief, how to deal with betrayal, anger, so not just sadness, but these are the, four different thoughts I need to learn how to get better at dealing. So this is, how to deal with negative emotion. So let's say in time, if I figure out how to deal better with guilt, the guilt will become a separate note here in the area of EQ. Okay. So similarly, anger is a separate note for me. Why? Because I was working actively on anger. Okay. So Azim, going back to your question is like, how is this organized? It's organized like this. It's area. And when something becomes a bit more, each note is a single topic and something you prioritize, it becomes its own area. So in my case, anger had become its own area.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
It's a personal example, but I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
I have a question. So,
Go ahead.
since you are using Evernote, Notion, as well as an iPad, I'm also falling into the same ecosystem, but I don't use Evernote that much. I'm more into this GoodNotes 5 and Notion. So, do you have any tips for that? Because every time I write something on my GoodNotes 5, I find it very hard to sync that with my Notion. I need to create a page, I need to manually upload the PDF file, move it to the respective page, and then save it there. But GoodNotes 5 has another feature that it automatically syncs all the documents to a Google Drive, which we give. But yeah, I don't find this to be more
Correct.
productive. It's
Absolutely.
more
You're right.
streamlined.
Yeah. So I recommend Evernote because if you see here, okay, right now, me, let's say going to a note in future planning, 1 second, one click, then the notes are loaded immediately and I click on this and I will kind of like see this note immediately. So in Evernote, it takes less than a second. But in Notion, it's a lot of clicks. So Notion is great. I use this quite a lot. But I have found for the regular use, this snappiness, quick creation, deletion, finding, search is more important, and Notion does not offer that. So it's like maybe if you do Notion, if you do Evernote, you'll find it is a lot more snappier and quick. We want quick software. When Notion becomes fast, everyone should go to Notion. But right now, it isn't. So rather than tips, I'll urge you to take a second look at why you're not using Ever.
Okay, definitely. Like, is it possible to sync all my documents from GoodNotes 5 directly into Evernote automatically? I don't want to do it manually every single time.
uh,
Let's say I create a folder
Not
structure in
really.
GoodNotes 5. Is it possible to push that
No, not
directly into
really.
my?
Not really. No, no. You'll have to do it manually, but yeah, it's like you will actually recognize, when to do what. For example, Evernote has the sketching option itself. So again, the notes you write, they should be organized in a para this thing. So when there is a thought you have related to the main project you are working on, you will directly open Evernote and you will directly write that down here, and then you can move it in that appropriately. So let me show you an example immediately. Uh, so the note in Evernote, you can actually sort by date of creation. Okay. So let me just show you, order the notes by date of creation. So Evernote has this feature on the bottom right. This is the quick note thing. And it's also present in mobile apps. So you can just quickly jot down something. Okay. And if I go to notes and if I sort them according to the date created, let's see. I think because I'm actually doing the live thing, it's actually quite slow. Evernote isn't actually this slow. Okay. So, okay, 10 hours ago, I had this idea of 10x projects. So the impact you have is knowledge multiplied by visibility. So if you have X amount of knowledge and it is known to 10 people, it's 10x. If it is known to 100 people, same knowledge, it is 100x impactful. So this is a thought I had while I was in bed. So I quickly wrote it into my default notebook. So this is the notebook of my random thoughts. And today I moved it. So, stuff here. There is something here, formats theorem or courses to do. There is catching a wave versus making a most of it. This was created on 10th of September. So 6 days back. And this is actually relevant for this workshop. I just forgot to move it here. It's relevant in unit number 1. So write it here, but and then later just go through this and then just move it. So this is the meditation stuff. I had made a note of it. I had forgotten to move it, but yeah, I'll just go to this thing, meditation visualized. I'll move it to the meditation resource or mission statement. It's related to self-awareness, so I'll just move it to there. So this is how I use Evernote. So you just put stuff randomly in one place and then once a day move it to its appropriate param.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, great. This thing, guys. Again, thanks a lot for staying. I had a great time, and there are some articles I would like to share. I'll share them on WhatsApp group. And again, next week, same time, we'll do the unit number 3. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Ajinkya.
Stop.
It's very
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
yeah
Good
good
night.
learning.